Oh, how exhausting it is to be a people pleaser. How exhausting is it to constantly worry about how you're being perceived by other people? How other people are going to take you setting boundaries? How other people are going to take you standing up for yourself? It's exhausting. You think that you're saving face, and you think that you're saving the other person, when really you're just hurting both of you. Because I think that people pleasing is manipulation. Because I want you to perceive me in a certain way, I'm going against the grain in order to be perceived in a more positive way. Because my fragile ego cannot help or cannot function if I'm perceived any other way. So then you start people pleasing. And then you start feeling like you can't be yourself. You start feeling like you don't have a voice. So you hold back. And you let people run over you. You let people disrespect you. You tolerate that because you don't want to be perceived in a negative way. But how it's really hurting you and the other person, you because you're not speaking up for yourself, you're not being true to yourself, but them because they are not in a position to be held accountable. You're not holding them accountable for their actions and how they disrespected you. So that maybe if they are a self-aware person, that maybe they can take what you just said into consideration and shift their actions a little bit. But because you're so afraid of how you're going to be perceived, you're not giving another person the chance to grow. You're not giving the person a chance to become the best versions of themselves. So now you're holding everybody back because you can't be authentic. You're holding everybody back because you can't speak up for yourself. Who cares? You know? Who cares how you'll be perceived? Do they pay your bills? Are they feeding you? Are they housing you? Are they effing you? Fondling, you know? Kissing you in the mouth? No, they're not. And even if they were doing those things, maybe I can make it without you. Okay? But no. People pleasing holds you back, holds them back. No one can be authentic. No one can be held accountable. And at the end of the day, I feel like people pleasing is not only manipulation, but it's also, a trauma response. Because where in your childhood, where have you been told to not say anything? Or when you did say something, how was it perceived? I was a people pleaser for a long time. Thought I had to fit in, thought I had to be a certain way just to fit in, just to please other people, when at the end of the day, I was only hurting myself. I was hurting other people because I wasn't holding myself accountable for how I'm addressing situations, for how I'm handling triggers. If you go back into your shell every time you get startled, you never grow, the other person never grows. I had an incident the other day where someone was speaking to me real crazy. And, I was trying to stand up for myself, but she kept speaking over me like loud, like in your face, like aggressive, and at that point, for me, as I am trying to hold her accountable, I realized that she couldn't be held accountable because she's not self-aware enough to know how her actions are triggering or how her actions are disrespectful to other people. There's a difference between being triggered and understanding that you're being disrespected. But, so I just you know what? I'm not going to put any more energy into this because I've tried to say my piece, but they keep speaking over me. They keep getting defensive. They keep wanting to, rah in your face, like, this is my point, I have to prove it, I'm right, this hurt me, this is how I felt like, in your face type thing. But when I realize that people are not able to hear me out, that's when I retreat. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go back into my shell, but I am going to stand down and let them have it, because there's no winning in that when people are like that. But, not saying that this is a win-lose type of situation. It's just, you will just be giving energy, and it would just keep escalating because that person doesn't know how to handle their emotions. So now you're on a whole, we all way up here when we could have kept it here. We could have kept it level. We could have communicated to one another what was affecting one another in a more healthy way, in a way that both people feel heard, instead of one person just has to be heard because at some point in their childhood they felt unheard. And then, this was a work situation, so I knew that I had to be the bigger person in that issue, because if not, then we would have been in there maybe possibly arguing. And that's something that I don't do. I don't raise my voice, especially if you are one to, get louder every time I get loud, or if you're already loud anyway and then you're just going to get even louder just because you're already naturally loud. I'm not going to entertain that. I do not entertain that energy. But, that's basically standing up for yourself, but also knowing when to stand down. That's an act of self-love, because okay, now I'm putting out too much of my energy. I can't handle this right now. Like, I'm gonna let her have it. Like, if this is how you feel and you feel so strongly about it that you can't see my side of things, then there's no point in even having this conversation. So, say all that because sometimes, when we are coming out of those people pleaser ways and we are standing up for ourselves, we can feed into the rah-rah. We can feed into the heightened energy, the heightened emotions that the other person is feeling. And now we're taking on that projection. But you don't have to do that. You have a choice. At some point, you'll realize that you have a choice after you first come out of your people-pleasing ways. But most of the time, if you have been a people-pleaser, you will retreat, because you see both sides of it. You see the beauty in being quiet and just letting people do what they do. And you also see the importance on standing up for yourself and not letting anybody disrespect you. You not tolerating disrespect because you're afraid to show the other person who they like, where they're lacking, and you're afraid to address where you're lacking. So now you're a people pleaser and you're afraid to speak up for yourself. But once you come out of that energy, it'll be like, oh, this is not worth it, retreat. But then, at some point you'll get to the, okay, this is not worth it. Like, your whole energy changes towards what's like when it's not worth it. Because as I mentioned in the first way, like, oh, this is not worth it. Like, you're pulling back, retreating out of fear. But when you realize that it's not worth it in a healthier way, you retreat because you are preserving your energy, and you realize that this person will not understand you. They're committed to misunderstanding you. So what's the point in even, like, I've already tried to say my piece, they wouldn't hear me. So I did my part in standing up for myself. And now I'm going to protect my energy by pulling back. Not retreating, not going back into the show completely, but just taking a step back and being the observer of this other person's actions. So I say all that to say, forget those people-pleasing ways. Stand up for yourself, because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And if you will tolerate disrespect from one person, you'll tolerate disrespect from everybody. So stand up for yourself. Be integral. And know what you value when it comes down to your voice. Know what you value when it comes down to your energy. And once you can stand on that, life becomes so much more easy. You realize that everybody is not as emotional intelligent as you are. And that's okay. Some people can meet you there, some people can't. And if that's where they are, I mean, there's nothing you can do to change that. Except you not being a people pleaser so that they can see if they want to, if they choose to, because we all have a choice. So, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I have 6 and 12-week coaching programs available. That's kind of a tongue twister. Where we will help integrate your shadow, figure out what your shadow is, integrate it, and transmute it into something that you can use, transmute it into light that you can grab onto when you need it, instead of it just being your body just being full of darkness. You have some light to look to. If you have issues with your mindset, seeing the way you perceive things, the way you perceive yourself, the way you perceive others or the world, we can help shift that mindset to one that will help you ultimately get what you want out of life. And if you just have goals and you're having issues with setting the goal, achieving the goal, getting the results that you want, we can also work on that as well. So also, if you are one that has been on your healing journey, you know what you're doing, but you just need to get over a hump, I also have one-time calls where I give you intuitive guidance, and we will spend at least 30 minutes to an hour on a phone call. You vent to me, I give you the intuitive guidance. You keep finding your way after that. Like, I'm just going to get you over that little hump and you can just keep going. So if you're interested in any of those, then DM me on my Instagram, or you can email me, and I'll put all of that in my description box. And I look forward to hearing from you all. So I pray that you receive this message well, and I'll see you in the next one.